The property at 1901 Jeune Road contributes to the historic fabric of the city of Coral Gables. It is part of a collection of quality buildings that serves as a visible reminder of the history and the cultural heritage of the city. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the local historic designation of the property at 1901 Jeune Road based on its historical, cultural, and architectural significance.
And Chair, this designation was submitted by the Permuy family. They are not the owners of the property. The applicant is actually here. He believes the property should be listed under additional criteria. He believes it's also eligible under, is associated in a significant way with the life or activities of a major historic person, important in the past. And he has further information to support, in his opinion, that it exemplifies the historical, cultural, political, economic or social trends of the community. Now, much of the information that he has is personal knowledge, and he would like to come up and present his side of things, which is a specialised area that staff don't really feel qualified to talk about. So we feel that the applicant himself should come up and explain these additional criteria. And if you have any questions relating to those criteria, please address them to him.
Okay.
Thank you, Warren. So my name is Antonio Permuy. So first I'd like to just acknowledge and thank Warren and his team who've been just so helpful throughout this process. This is my first time, putting forward an application for historic designation. I know for you guys, this is a very normal thing. It is not for me. So they've been just really terrific to work with, very knowledgeable, very supportive. So I wanted to start by thanking Warren. And also I'd like to thank Dr. Corelia Martinez-Carbonell, who's also been very helpful in lending her guidance and recommendations throughout this application process for me. And with that, I also want to say that I fully support the findings, recommendations that Warren's team has put forward. This is not in any way countering that. It's in addition to and in support of. So like Warren said, this certainly has historical, architectural, as well as cultural significance. The department's recommendation specified criterion 4 under Article 3, Article 3, Section 3-1103, which says that exemplifies the historical, cultural, political, economic, or social trends of the community. What I would like to also put forward is that it meets criterion number 1, which is that it is associated in a significant way with the life or activities of a major historic person important in the past. This is not only true, but this is true in multiple accounts. This property, I know that as a board, you see many historic properties by the nature of what you do. And in any given meeting in any given month, there might be a few that stand out. And this is one that would stand out in a big way, probably over the course of the year, I would hesitate to guess. Because the story that this property has is a very special and very unique one with a level of importance and significance in culture through the arts that is almost unparalleled in terms of this kind of a structure that is basically designed to be residential. And that's the story that I'm very honored and passionate and excited to share with you. So this property is first and foremost associated with a well-regarded and highly influential painter whose name was Miguel Jorge. He was Cuban, and he lived in this property on the first floor on the left-hand unit throughout the 1970s. He is somebody who is basically one of the co-founders in establishing Latin American art throughout South Florida. And he is somebody who participated in major exhibitions and helped support major exhibitions and happening that not only were part of his generation, but supporting younger generations of emerging Latin American and Cuban artists. One of the most significant ones is the Miami Generation exhibition of 1983, which he was instrumental in providing funding for. And several of the featured artists were also artists who he personally mentored. So he's had an enormous significance. Sadly, he passed away the following year in 1984, so he has not lived to see his legacy captured in a major way. So this would do that. He has also counted Spanish nobles among his collectors. He's exhibited internationally. He was part of the Low Art Museum's first traveling exhibition. He was chosen for that. And his work has been chosen as, the featured Christmas card artwork for back in the 60s and 70s. Burdines used to do, some of you are familiar with this, they used to do fundraisers, using local artists. He was selected for that as well. So there are several ways in which he has been instrumental in contributing not only to Coral Gables' historic and cultural fabric, but that of the broader South Florida area, and really in helping establish Cuban art in the United States in a big way. He was part of a group of artists that included his close friends Lourdes Gomez Franca and Dionisio Perkins, who are also highly regarded and award-winning artists. And it's just difficult to quantify exactly how far his reach went. But one thing we know is he didn't get to live to see that acknowledged in a big way until the year he passed, which he was then honored with a major exhibition retrospective of his life's career, of his life's work. So the fact that he lived in this property and also painted in this property some of his most significant works, including the drafts for murals and public art as well, is, I think, worth acknowledging here. And the second major contribution that this property brings to our story in not only Coral Gables, but South Florida and beyond, and certainly in the Hispanic community of the United States, is that this was the site of Permuy Gallery, which, of course, is very personal to me because my grandparents were its founders and they ran it, and my grandfather's actually here today, so he's a living witness to this, and for him, this is coming full circle. So really, what they managed to do in Permuy Gallery is something remarkable, because when you look at where the art world was, not only in Coral Gables, but for Cuban immigrants coming in during that time, it was practically non-existent. What existed was a highly informal art world where most sales happened within the homes of artists or the homes of dealers or even in garage sales. So what this presented was a rare opportunity to really treat it and give it that dignity of an actual gallery, to present work. The other comparable galleries of that time really only focused on exhibiting. They made a point of exhibiting and selling to actually support a market for Cuban art and Latin American art. So that was a major advancement in the contributions that this brought forth. And Permuy Gallery started in 1972. That was exactly 50 years ago. So we've seen in this golden anniversary several ways that legacy has been acknowledged as a significant thing to the Coral Gables community and many other communities. And I've brought some of these here that I would like to share with you if you would be interested in seeing. This is a proclamation that was passed by the City Commission and Mayor Lago a couple months ago in August, and it captures much of this story. I'm going to pass this forward. I was very proud to be there for that and help facilitate that. It mentions this property by its address. So there's no ambiguity as to where Permuy Gallery was. It was on this site, and it was in the unit that was right next door to where Miguel Jorge lived. So he was on the left-hand unit, this was on the right-hand unit. So of course, he was instrumental in the scene at Permuy Gallery as well. He had a major solo exhibition there in January of 1973, which facilitated his own major exhibition the following year in the Bacardi Gallery, which was also a highly significant gallery at that time. I brought with me the original catalog of Miguel Jorge's exhibition at the Bacardi Gallery, which if you look at it, it mentions his Permuy Gallery solo exhibition. This is a contemporary source from that time where it says recent shows. So I'm going to also pass that over for you to look over. And this is just evidence I didn't make this up. This is a real source from 1974. And so yes, Miguel Jorge brought in his friends and contacts to also be part of the scene at Permuy Gallery. He was a very lively person, an intelligent, witty, humorous person who contributed quite a lot of color to the Miami art world for the length of his career. And beyond that group that was affiliated with Miguel Jorge, another highly significant group of artists that was part of the Permuy Gallery art scene was what an artist association called the Grupo Gala. They were the very first Latin American artist association in Florida and very likely in the Southeast United States. And they were highly active in Permuy Gallery. So each one of its members attended, each one of its members exhibited, and each one of its members signed the gallery guest book, which still exists, by the way. It's a remarkable resource to a period of our cultural history here in Coral Gables and beyond. It's very ill-recorded otherwise. I mean, really what we have to work with are the things that I'm passing along to you, as well as, Polaroids and things like that. And I've interviewed so many people. Warren mentioned this is a lot of my research. This is the culmination, like this presentation to you as a board And hopefully this designation is a culmination over 5 years of research that I've put into this. So I'm just really humbled and honored to have this opportunity to bring this to you, to lay out the story of people like the Grupo Gala, who were highly influential in establishing Latin American art in South Florida and beyond, but also the members of the Grupo Gala, many of them now have foundations after them. Their work fetched very high prices at auction. So many of them were already established when they became part of Permuy Gallery. Others were not. One of the significant members is Baru Salinas, who is still alive and still active. He just had a major retrospective exhibition this year in the American Museum of the Cuban Diaspora, which I was able to meet with him on, interview him, and he gave personal testimonies and memories of his experiences at Permuy Gallery, which was very powerful and also lends a lot of credibility because of his own credibility. So he was one of many significant figures tied to this gallery, in addition to Jose Mijares, Rafael Soriano, and emerging artists who later became highly significant within their lifetimes, such as Juan Gonzalez and Emilio Falero. Emilio Falero is worth mentioning also because he had his very first career solo exhibition in a gallery at Permuy Gallery in 1974. That exhibition sold 25 paintings on its opening night. That was an enormous moment. It was a milestone moment for emerging artists who are Latin American in South Florida to show that there's a market for them as well. And that was also a very good segue into mentioning one of the biggest contributions Permuy Gallery brought to Coral Gables specifically, which was its gallery nights. What they would do, and this was something that was very organic, they would have wine and cheese exhibitions to open their weekly cycles. They used weekly cycles so the more art could be featured. And each Friday they would unveil them. They would set it up on Thursday, and then people would come off from work. And it's right by Miracle Mile. So you would just make your way down on foot, and there you would be. There would be wine, cheese, art. And as the evening would progress, it would evolve into an organic sort of cultural salon where you would have the leaders of the community discussing literature, visual arts, religion, politics, philosophy, all just to create community. And that was done on this building. This is, again, a story that has been ill-recorded up until very recently. So we are participating actively in the elevation of all these legacies that continue to this day. This offered a prototype for the modern Coral Gables Gallery nights that are now monthly. So, I mean, I could be here for hours laying out the depth of what happened here and what the epicenter of the scene that was created within this structure. But I think this is enough to illustrate. The last thing I'll show you to pass around is that this has also been acknowledged in the United States Congress. So this is a statement of congressional record that was passed this year it was presented into the congressional record by Congresswoman Salazar, who signed that by hand. So I would also like to submit that for your consideration, and just thank you all for your consideration of this property, which I think is highly deserving of landmark status. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just as some backup information, the property owners are from out of state. I informed them that we had received this application. We spoke about what historic designation entails, what the requirements would be. They assured me they had no intention of demolishing this property. They didn't suggest they were unhappy or were going to appeal it. They were sent notice of the meeting. So unless they're actually here or on Zoom, I haven't heard anything from them since. So unless they're in the audience or on Zoom, I haven't heard. We do have some letters of support. You have copies of them. One is from Carelia Martinez Carbonell, Dr. Carelia Martinez Carbonell. One is from Jaime and Julie Pardo. One is from the Historic Preservation Association of Coral Gables. And I believe that's them. You have them in front of you, or I can read them into the record.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor or opposition of this case? Okay, I'll close the public portion. Anybody? Mr. Aronhoff?
I was just going to ask if the documents that were shared with us at the dais, if copies could be provided to staff so that they could be formally made part of the archived record for the,
That's a good idea. I'm sure that,
so that
that can be done.
information is
Okay,
in context is available publicly for research.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
I'm just very impressed how good of a grandchild you are. I'm a grandmother, so I really appreciate it.
So, Mr. Adams, Mr. Ehrenhaft has requested that these documents that have been passed around, if they could be copied and included in the historical archive.
Yeah, and
So
we'll
if you could work with the applicant to do that, we'd appreciate it.
And we'll also include the minutes from what was said and attach that. And if the board is making a motion, please also specifically mention the additional criteria that was requested.
Okay. I am entertaining motions.
Motion to approve the historic designation of the property located at 1901 Lejeune Road, Coral Gables. Let me get to the back here. And local designation, legally described as lots 1 and 2, Block 9, Coral Gables, Section K, based on its historical, cultural, and architectural significance.
And are you going to add and is associated in a significant way with the life or activities of a major historic person important in the past, Miguel, Jorge, and was it Marta? Permuy?
Marta and Jesus Permuy, right?
Yeah, accept it.
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Maxwell and Ms. Spain.
Yes.
Mr. Fullerton,
Yes.
Ms. Rolando,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons,
Yes.
Mr. Durana,
Yes.
Mr. Maxwell,
Yes.
Ms. Spain,
Yeah, should I have added Jesus also for Marta and Jesus, I believe it should be. Is that
No.
okay with you?
No, just what we've got's good.
Okay, yes.
Mr. Menendez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay. Next case file.